Dr. Muda Yusuf is here live with us in the studios. Thank you so much for being here, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
You've raised your voice so loud against this move that's been indeed, presented to the federal government, that it's high time that we stop any form of importation or anything that's got to do with solar panels or power and then bring it back home. Why is this a not too good move should the federal government decide to embark on it?
Well, as all of us know, we are dealing with a major energy crisis. The cost of the normal electricity provided is extremely very prohibitive. And that is if you have them. Because if you are band D or band E or band B or whatever band you are, except for band A, that we are told are privileged few. Many other people don't have sufficient access to energy. That is one. The other alternative that people often also resort to is the use of generator. Now, look at the cost of fuel these days. It's prohibitive. So the only window for many individuals, households, SMEs, even the rural communities, is the solar solution. And it's gaining traction. Interestingly, it's gaining a lot of traction. So at this point, I think what we need is to encourage more people to be able to adopt the solar solution. Now, if you are talking of banning, well, the spirit of local production is fine. But there's something about sequencing of policy and about capacity. Otherwise, you are going to worsen the crisis that you are dealing with. So that is the concern. So the point made by the Minister of Energy, Science and Tech, well, it is good, but we need to caution against the pace and the speed at which they go about that kind of thing. And additionally, issues of banning or no banning is a trade policy matter. It's not a science and tech issue. You have the coordinating Minister of the Economy, you have the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, you have the Minister of Budget and National Planning. These are the people in whose remit decision as to whether you want to ban anything, you want to increase tariff, this is where it belongs. So we should avoid things that will send terrible signals to investors and to the citizens.
Now, Dr. Yusuf, you talked about sequencing of policies, that is not putting the cart before the horse.
Yes.
Let's look at the state of play of the technology and the solar industry in Nigeria. How are we doing? Do we have the manufacturing capacity, or do we have enough numbers to take care of domestic needs if the ban is put in place today?
We don't have. I think we have just one or two companies that are still struggling, to do the manufacturing. Another major issue with that manufacturing is that most of their inputs are still currently being imported.
So it's not ripe. The cottage industry, when it comes to solar panels, is not ripe enough to elicit for ban to protect them.
Certainly we don't have capacity. This is a very big country, and you'll be shocked at how many people are now embracing this solar technology or solar solution for power. It's increasing traction.
Right.
Even though it's very expensive, even as at now, because if you want to install a solar solution that can power maybe 1 or 2 fridges, fan, and all of that, you'll be talking of close to ₦1 million. So the focus, when we are talking about energy access, is to see how to improve the access, how to make it cheaper. That is why we were talking about in that release about even the cost of inverters, the cost of batteries. We are not saying you should subsidize, but you can waive the duties, you can waive the taxes, you can provide concessionary finance so that the citizens can have some breathing space. That is what this is all about.
Right.
The welfare impact is a lot, and the revenue loss is not so significant.
Okay, it's very important that you've mentioned this, because if you are banning it, you need to ensure that we have enough to be able to meet the demand of Nigerians. And quite frankly, a number of people, even me, I've had to install solar panels for my, my family. So a number of people are moving towards using solar panels. So let's talk about what the way forward is in terms of keeping up with modern best practices. Nigeria has been pushing for the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and one of that is energy. Energy falls under that category. How well, if the government, we understand, in the spirit of what the government is trying to achieve, which is local production, how well can we position ourselves to be able to have the best of both worlds? So have more production here, have more people, use renewable energy or lean towards renewable energy without an outright ban. Is there a way we can work around it to be able to ensure that everybody is duly satisfied, the citizens and the government as well? Is there a middle ground of some sort?
Well, there's a kind of middle ground because these things are not mutually exclusive. If you want manufacturing, what we need to do is to create incentives for manufacturers rather than strangulate the citizens by way of banning the importation. Because if you ban, prices are going to escalate.
That's if they haven't started escalating now, because even the concern is that once the rumors of a potential ban start going out, all the prices will go up.
Exactly. And a whole lot of people are increasingly becoming dependent on this. So what we are saying is that, yes, we want to build manufacturing capacity. Engage the manufacturers. What and what do you need for you to scale this thing? If the scale is increasing, in fact, they can even find themselves in a position where they can even compete with what is being imported. Today, our cable industry, cable manufacturers are competing favorably well with imported cables.
Yeah.
In fact, for those who are in the building industry, they will recommend that you buy local cables. That is the way to go. You don't create a crisis for the citizens because you want to promote manufacturing. So they are not mutually exclusive.
Right.
What you do is to encourage those who are in manufacturing, give them good financing, check their input costs. How can you reduce it? VAT, company tax, all those fiscal incentives. You give it to them so that they are able to also scale their production. That is. But, you have to balance the interest. It is good to manufacture, but you also have to worry about the welfare of the citizens.
What's the worst case scenario? The hope is that we're having this conversation and bringing to light what the implications of this might be, and how we can find some form of a middle ground without an outright ban, because we do have a power challenge, and with the state of the economy, we don't want to further burden Nigerian citizens. But the worst case scenario, what would be the worst case scenario if this ban is actually carried out?
Well, it's going to be a very serious crisis because we don't have the capacity at all to meet the crisis. Then you are likely to see a lot of smuggling of these solar panels. We have very porous borders. Smuggling of the solar panels. Of course, those who are producing it, because of the gap, the capacity gap, they become very exploitative, typically. Because when the demand is so heavy and the supply is so limited, people take advantage of it. And the responsibility of government is to take care of the welfare of the citizens, first and foremost. So for me, I don't even see us getting to the point, because you can't justify it at this point.
There also worries that if the federal government decides to go ahead and give these incentives, especially to the MSMEs who want to be involved, the young entrepreneurs who want to go into the business, it would inadvertently affect Nigeria's power sector. In other words, Nigeria's power sector would go to sleep because there will be a dependent on the solar panels now.
No, not necessarily. You see, renewable energy is for essentially MSMEs, small businesses. It's for households. It's for corporate organization, for lighting. When it comes to heavy energy usage, you need the on-grid power. It can be gas-powered or hydro-powered. So these two needs to exist side by side, because you can't use renewable for manufacturing.
Heavy industries.
Heavy industries.
So what do you say about the 1.2 gigawatts solar plants that the government wants to put in place now?
Well, it is good. Government is even trying to install solar solutions even for institutions. For health,
Hospitals,
the crisis we
backup.
have. Yes,
Yeah.
Hospitals. And this Uche University, you see the amount of solar solution that was deployed. That is what the government is doing now. So for those things, it is better. So if you take all those load out of the grid,
All right.
it reduces the pressure on the grid, then you can You have more power to support industries and all of that.
All
so
right,
those things have to exist side by side.
We'll come back to the conversation to sort of wrap it up, but we need to go on a very quick break, and when we come back, we'll be winding down on the show. Stay with us.
You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. We still have Dr. Muda Yusuf with us in the studio. We're discussing the federal government's plan to ban the importation of solar panels to Nigeria and its implication. Now, Dr. Yusuf, you noted that the minister's announcements has raised concerns among investors and multilateral organizations. What feedback have you received from industry players since this announcement?
Well, typically, this increases their concern. It elevates, the level of risk of investments. Because, investors have seen a huge market for renewables in Nigeria because of the major energy crisis and the deficit that we have. So a lot of funding, both domestically and internationally, have been going into that area. And that's also in line with all this climate change and all of that, energy transition and all of. So there's a lot of investment and funds moving in that direction. So if you now suddenly have this kind of announcement, even though it has not become policy, there's a way it creates some jitters. You become nervous.
Uneasiness.
Yes, that we are investing this, a lot of things are in the pipeline, and the government is talking about this. This can create a lot of panic, uncertainty, which can, create problem for those investors. So this is the kind of feelings that this kind of things generate. And the earlier the government clarifies the position, the better.
So if you could speak to the Minister of Science and Technology, what would your message
No, they
be
should
to him?
reverse that kind of announcement and say that they are committed to supporting domestic producers of solar panels and roll out incentives for them.
So, and what that would do beyond even encouraging investors, what that would do also would be to help create some sort of balance in renewable energy space in terms of the cost of solar panels, cost of inverters.
Yeah.
Because if you notice, what we're currently buying, the amount we're currently paying for inverters and for solar panels, yes, it increased because of inflation, but it phenomenally increased because of the fuel scarcity. So it just feels like when there's an opportunity and they realize that, this is an opportunity for exploitation, people need us. The demand increases, the price increases. So hopefully what that announcement might do would be to help grant some form of stability.
Yeah.
Mr. Muda Yusuf, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
For your time.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.